Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to create a banner ad in Adobe Photoshop. So let me show you guys what we'll be trying to recreate today in Adobe Photoshop. So we're going to try to recreate this same thing in Adobe Photoshop from scratch. So I'm going to be showing you step by step how to do this. So let's jump into Photoshop. But first, I want to know the dimensions I'm going to be using for my documents. So I'm going to be using something very similar to the one I have here for this actual design. So I'll go to Photoshop, then click on New, and then let's see. So the dimensions is around 1560. I think so. Yes, 1560. So I'm going to be using this, and it's also on pixel, so I'm going to be using pixel definitely. So change this to pixel. Then for the width, I'm going to be using 1560. And then for the height, let's see. For the height, I'm going to be using 780. So for the height, 780. 780. Then I'm going to be taking down the resolution down to 100. So I'm going to leave the rest at default. RGB is fine, 8-bit is fine, then white background. So I'll click create. So it's going to create my document for me. So I have this. So I'm going to be clicking on Ctrl 0 to fit to screen, or you just go down to zoom to, then click fit screen. That's fine. So then I'm going to unlock my background. Then I want my background to be completely black. So I can do that in two ways. I can either go to edit, fill, and then I'll just choose color and just go down to black. That's fine, that will work. And click OK here also. But let me just undo with Ctrl Z. So to do this the other way, you just have to come down here and take this back to default, foreground and background default. So click on this. Then so long I have my black as the foreground, all I have to do is just to click on Alt backspace on the keyboard. Then it fills that up with black for me. That's fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my image, the electronic images. So I'm going to go find them. Okay, look for my image. So yeah, I found my image, and this is my image here. This one down here, yeah, this one will work just fine. So all I have to do is just to click and drag this to Photoshop and drop this in here, and then just rescale this like so. And then one more thing I need to point out. So while you're rescaling this, you have to hold your Shift and Alt key, then go to this corner or this corner or this corner down here or this corner down here, then rescale, then scale your image. So this is going to allow you to scale your image proportionally, or else if you're not holding the Shift and Alt, you'll be having something that looks like this. So I don't want that. I want to scale this proportionally on all sides. So that's why I have to hold my Shift and the Alt key. So I'm going to do that again. Now I won't do that here, holding my Shift and Alt. Why? Because if I do this, it's going to deform my image. I don't want that. So I'll just undo that. Then hold my Shift and Alt and go to this corner and then just rescale. So that's fine. I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. So accept that. So the next thing I want to do is to cut out this image from the background. So I'm going to be using a tool called Polygonal Lasso tool. I can use the pen tool, but let me just use this Polygonal Lasso tool for now. So I want to zoom in, so I go to my zoom tool. Then I turn on this my scrubby zoom, so I can drag and zoom in here, or I can turn this off. Then now I can drag a selection where I want to zoom into. So this is fine. So I'll go back to my polygonal lasso tool, and I'll go very close to the model, very close to it. Oh, I'm on the wrong tool, so I'm going to go back to polygonal lasso tool, and then I'll just stay on the edge. I'll stay on the edge. Even if I cut just a little part of my model, it's still fine, but I just want to stay very close to the edge. So this might take a while, so I'm just going to try and do this as quickly as I can. Okay, trying to do this as careful as possible. Okay, so I won't want to bore you with this whole process, but you get the idea. So I'm just going to pause this video. So I'm done making my cuts. I've done making my cuts. Then all I have to do now is just to right click inside my selection and then use layer via copy. So immediately I do that, it will make a selection, it will make a copy of my selection on a new layer. So I'm going to show you now. I'm going to turn off the old layer. Then I have something like this. So I'm going to use my Ctrl+0 to fit to screen. Then I have something like this. So this is fine. So I'm just going to delete the old one. I don't need that anymore. And then I go to my move tool and undo that and select my layer. Name this electronic. Okay. Then I'm just going to move this down here. This is fine. So I'm going to go back to my reference image to see how the design is. So, like so. I think I need to rescale this just a little bit. So, for me to rescale this, I need to click on my Ctrl+T on the keyboard. Then resize this just a tiny bit, like so. Then click Enter to accept this. So now the next thing I want to do is to sharpen up this image. So to do that, I'm going to go to my filter, then click on camera raw. Then just in case you don't know, I'm using Photoshop 2017. So if you're using a later version or if it's an earlier version, you might not get this feature. So if you kind of upgrade to Photoshop 2017, I think you will see this feature there. But I think for Photoshop CS6, you won't be finding this feature in there. So I'm gonna just darken this image a bit, take down the exposure, take up the contrast, take up the highlight just a bit, the shadows, take that down. For the whites, maybe I just make it a little bit brighter, and for the dark, maybe a little bit darker. Then the clarity, I'm going to increase this very much. Okay, like so. Then for vibrance, let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Saturation, maybe. Okay, take that up a little bit. Then I'm going to click OK to accept that. So I'm going to sharpen up my image. That's fine. That's fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fix up my background. So as you can notice here in this background, there's some kind of glow in this background. So I want to kind of imitate that. So I'm going to use my Ctrl- key to zoom out of my image. Or you can go to your zoom tool, then just click on this minus, and then you can do the same thing also by using the shortcuts. So I'm going to create a new layer. Let me name this background BG. So I'm going to create a new layer on top of this my background. Then I'm going to go to my brush tool and then change the brush color to something bluish. Maybe around here should be fine. Yes, there should be fine. Then increase the size of my brush. You can just right click and then increase brush size, or you can use the shortcut by clicking on either on the open and close bracket key. So something like this is fine. Then all I have to do is just make a tap around here. So that's fine. I'm going to go back to my move tool and go to my opacity and just take this down. I don't want it to be that obvious, but still there. Then now maybe I'm going to use a more brighter tone to this white, but this time around I'm going to be creating a new layer to do that. So I'm going to create a layer on top of this blue. So let me quickly name this to blue. Then a new layer on top of this white color. That's fine. My brush tool. Then I'm going to make a smaller brush and just tap up here. So that's fine. Then I'm going to take this down just a little bit. Take this down for the fill. Just take down the fill. Yeah, this should be fine. This should be fine. Yes. So I'm going to zoom back in again. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is checking my image and see what else is needed. Okay. So I can see some dark areas around here, and in some other part also. So let me try to recreate that. So to do that, I'm just going to use another brush and on a new layer also. So let me name this to white. Then on top of my electronic layer, I'm going to create a new layer and kind of name this edge darkness. So I'm just naming it to something I can easily remember. You can name it with whatever you feel you can be able to remember easily. That's fine. So what I'm going to do now is just go to my brush tool, take this back to default, take down my brush size down, and then just paint some dark shades around here. So it kind of blends in with the background. Do the same also here. It kind of blends in with the background. So that's fine. I'm going to leave this as it is. Then the next thing I'm going to be creating is the reflection. So to do that, very easy. So all you have to do to create the reflection is to duplicate this fridge. So I'm going to be using my shortcut key, Ctrl J on the keyboard. Or you can just right click and click on duplicate layer. That's fine. But I prefer to use the shortcut key. So the next thing I'm going to do is to kind of flip this copy layer downward. So before I do that, let me quickly name this to reflection. Okay, then Ctrl T on the keyboard, right click on it and then flip vertical. So then I'll just pull this down, holding down my shift key so it's constrained to just one axis. So that's fine. Click my enter key and then all I have to do is to take down the opacity of this. Okay. So I'll need to bring this reflection on top of this edge darkness. So it's there now, but I still need it to be, I want to have a more glossy reflection. So to do that, all I have to do is to go to my filter and add a Gaussian blur. But let me show you guys a trick. So if I apply my Gaussian blur directly, so it's working already, but the radius is just too high. Let me take that down like so. So once I click on apply, now I can't go back and edit this Gaussian blur anymore. It's already there permanently. But let me show you an easier trick to apply that Gaussian blur and still go back and edit it. So let me Ctrl Z on that. Then to do that, I'll just right click and convert to smart objects. Then now I go back to my filter and click on Gaussian blur. So it has been applied now. So let me take this down like so. It's fine. Click OK. So now if I feel I'm not satisfied with the way the Gaussian blur is affecting my image, since I've already applied a smart object to this, so now I can see my Gaussian blur being added to my reflection. So I can easily double click on this Gaussian blur. Then it opens up the dialog box for the Gaussian blur and I can easily edit it. So that's just a trick by the side. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to apply my button. So applying the button now. Okay, so to apply the button, I'm going to be okay. I feel I should add more life to this fridge, so I want to go to my that electronic, then go to curves. Yeah, so I want to make this more bluish, so I'm going to change this from RGB to blue, and then I'm going to take this blue upwards. Okay, that's too bluish. Something like this is fine. I want to make it look more cold, so that's fine. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to clip these curves to the electronic layer. So I'm going to click on this clip to layer. Click on this, so it's going to only affect only this layer below it, which is this electronic. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create my button. So I'm going to click on this rectangle and draw something like this. That's fine. Then I need to change the color, so it will bring out the properties for me, and then let me give it some rounded edge, so 100, and then change this to white. Okay, so I'm going to be adjusting the colors of this rectangle. So I'm going to apply the gradient overlay to it. Gradient overlay. Okay. Then change this to black to white. Change this to gray, almost white. Okay. Let me see how this is affecting it. So I'm going to click OK. So there's something I need to do. I need to take this button, let me name this to button, and drag this up here. So that shadow behind it doesn't affect it. That brush stroke added on behind this doesn't affect it. So I still want to go back and edit this. So I'm going to be adding another gray value down here, like so. Then I'm going to be changing the angle. So that's fine. Let me take this, it's too grayish. Yeah, maybe somewhere like that should work. Click OK. Then maybe I should add some kind of stroke to it. For the stroke, I'm going to be using another gradient also. Let me use white to gray. Then I need to increase the stroke size. Just too much outside, yes. Let's see. Increase the size. So yeah, something like this is working. But I don't need too much, just a little. Then take this down. Something like this is fine. Yep. Then go to my bevel and emboss. Oh no, I want to use this pillow, or maybe I should use something different, maybe emboss. So now I'm going to be using the pillow emboss, and then I'm just going to increase the depth like so. Okay, take down the size. Something like this should work. That's fine. Then click OK. So the next thing I need to do is just to type in my text. So the text shouldn't be that difficult to type. So to type in text, you just go to the text tool, and then you just type in your text. Type in your text. So I'm just going to skip that part and then just type the text, and then we'll be back. So now I've typed this already. So I'm just going to go to my rectangle tool and just draw a rectangle like so. Then for this, I'm going to be removing the fill, then giving it just stroke, white stroke, and increase the thickness of my stroke, and then just round up the edge. 100. Thickness is just too much. Let me use 4. So that's fine. So for this font, I'm using Fontura. I'm using the Fontura font. So I'm just going to Ctrl T and increase this a little bit, holding Shift and Alt. Then for my shop now, the button. So I'm using Murad Pro for that. But this beauty and chromatic and electronics, I'm using Fontura. So I need to resize this shop now and the button. So I'm going to select them. Ctrl T. Ctrl T. Okay, click on edit and free transform. Okay, I need to resize the both of them. So let me put them in a group instead. Ctrl G, then Ctrl T to resize them. So I want to make this kind of align properly. Okay, that's fine. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is fixing up this area here, fixing this up. So that's quite easy. So I'm going to start by zooming out. So this time around I'm going to be using the pen tool. So I'll go to my pen tool and kind of draw. Maybe I'll just drag in this image to Photoshop so I get a good reference. So just drag this image to Photoshop into the same document. I need to resize this. Definitely need to resize this. And then just go to my move tool, clicking on the V key, and just fix this here as a reference. Then I'll go way up again, go back to my pen tool. So I want to draw a shape similar to this. So I'm going to be using the pen tool to do that. So starting from here, click and drag like so. Then I'm going to hold in the Alt key. Holding the Alt key to break that edge that's streaming out. Then go down here and kind of make that curve. Yeah, like so. That's fine. Then kind of break this edge again and go all the way to my starting point. Click and drag and kind of make this fit like so. Then that's fine. So I'm going to right click inside of the selection, make selection, click OK. Then now I have a selection here. So the next thing I need to do is to create a new layer and then fill this with white. So change the I'm just going to switch this from foreground to background. Then Alt backspace. So it's going to fill that shape for me with a white color. Then I need to deselect, Ctrl D to deselect, and then I need to do one more thing. I need to add a gradient to this. So FX gradient overlay, and then choose white to black, kind of change the angle. I want the gray to be at the bottom parts. So that black, I'm going to be changing this to, I'm going to be changing the black to a more grayish tone. Something like this should work. So something like this should work. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I want to kind of scale this up, Ctrl T. So I want to kind of scale this up so it touches that edge a bit more. Then Ctrl T again, maybe I'll just squash it just a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So then the next thing I'm going to be doing is filling this back this black portion with white. So that's also easy. So all I have to do is to go to my polygonal lasso tool again, then kind of click in here, just click in here, so clicking back here, then go back to my initial point, then create a new layer, but this layer should be below my new shape. Then fill this with white, completely white, then Ctrl D to deselect. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is adding a drop shadow. Let me quickly name this to fold. Okay, then double click on this FX to apply a drop shadow. So drop shadow. So by default it's giving me some shadow, so I'm going to reset this so we'll be on the same page. So then I'm just going to increase this size. Then I can manually come here and click and drag out my shadow where it should be. Yes, like so. Yeah, like so is fine. Increase the size a little bit, and then that's all. Click OK, and then I have the shape I needed. So please do so let me just turn this off, turn this image I brought in, turn it off. Yeah, it should be that one. Yes. So now I'm done with my entire design. So please make sure you do like and then subscribe to this channel. I really appreciate that. So thank you guys for watching. So I'll see you in the next lesson. And then you can always drop a comment also on the comment below to maybe you want to maybe you need a particular tutorial. Just make a comment and then we'll look into it. So thank you very much for watching. See you in the next lesson.